Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So today we're going to be talking about adding some flavor to your Commander decks, and with me is the flavor expert, Eric.
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert, but glad to be here.
I'm going to put that like a little title down, flavor expert, Eric. But yeah, you may or may not have seen Eric on an episode of Close Quarters, which may or may not have already come out, depending on when I get this edited and when it comes out. So future stuff. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. But yeah, spoiler, Eric's on that episode, and we will not be saying what commander you played or whatnot, because, again, if I don't edit in time, or if I do edit in time, I don't want people to know. Anyway, let's go into it. Today's topic, let's actually get to the important thing, is making a flavorful commander deck. So, you know, there are plenty of powerful commander decks out there. There are a lot of videos, there are a lot of articles, you know, about how to build an extremely powerful and optimized commander deck. But really, there's kind of like a lack of information out there on how to build a deck that's got, you know, flavor that's kind of really personal to you, maybe potentially. And so again, the flavor expert Eric is gonna handle the rest of the episode from here. I'm just gonna sit here and listen. So
I'll try not to screw up.
Sounds good.
So yeah, I mean, basically with Commander, it kind of seems like a perfect format for adding a little bit more flavor than other formats like Standard.
Sure.
Things that are kind of a little more locked into either a set of cards,
yep,
or maybe a play style a little bit more aggressive with having less cards in the deck, and
yep,
also just limitations of those formats.
Sure, yeah, more variance in Commander. You can kind of get away with more things-ish.
Right. So kind of backing up a little bit on flavor, there's a kind of, you had that episode, I don't know, a couple months ago now,
yep,
about the player archetypes.
Yeah, oh yeah, the psychographics, what Timmy, Johnny, and Spike.
Yep.
Yep.
But there's actually another player archetype that's not as well known, not as well recognized, and that's Vorthos.
Okay, and what's a Vorthos?
So a Vorthos it was originally a term coined by Matt Covatta, a writer and artist at WotC. He's done a number of really awesome cards: Argentum Armor, Empress Galena, Mimic Vat. I mean,
yeah,
look him up. He's got actually quite a few cards under his name.
Yeah, I believe Symbiotic Worm was actually one from my childhood when I was playing. I believe I recognized that one. Just like, oh, I love that card.
Yeah. So anyways, he had an article series for a little while back in like 2005, where he was kind of doing more flavorful articles, and he started getting some hate mail from the Spikes because it wasn't as aggressive and about the gameplay as other things. But he started getting some fan mail from players that really liked like art and story,
yep,
you know, the novels and the kind of the baseline of Magic as a moving plot line. So he decided to come up with this sub archetype called Vorthos. And basically, what is a Vorthos? So a Vorthos could be any number of things. Basically, if you have an affinity for an artist, or just the art of the cards. When I began playing Magic, I was in 4th grade. I didn't know how to play the game at all. Me and my friends got some cards from a game store, yep, and really we just used them as drawing references. We just liked the art. And that right there is a Vorthos.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if you're really into the story, a story of a character, for instance. Like a lot of people know that, you know, especially like the core, like Jace, Chandra, they have really rich storylines. But even like some of the side characters have a little bit of a storyline.
Or maybe even some of the old school ones like the Weatherlight Saga. And
right.
Like that, yeah. Characters like Urza, Gerard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of people know that, like, when a set comes out, it's playing into the overall plot line of the game. It's like we're all in one giant D&D campaign and we just happen to play it through paper magic.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a level 5 cleric, so.
So, yeah. So anyways, this term Vorthos kind of was kicked around for a while before I understood what it was. And I didn't even realize that I was a Vorthos before I, dug in and kind of learned more about it.
That's pretty sweet.
A lot of people, I think a lot of people consider Vorthos players to be like jank. I think that's a term that like is thrown around pretty
Sure.
often, of just like, well, you run decks that maybe aren't, CEDH or pulled even like you've got like random combos in there or whatever.
Sure.
Your sub theme of that deck isn't the most common sub theme.
It might not be it might not be a popular or optimized kind of build of that commander, but it's one that's meaningful to you or one that you just like really enjoy potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, like I actually think the term jank is endearing. I don't look at it as a slight to anybody.
Check out Quest for the Jank Lord.
Yes, great content. Those guys are awesome. I myself play a lot of jankier decks, but what I like to think of it as is it's taking a commander and maybe twisting it, looking at it a little bit differently, a little different creative take on something.
Sure.
Like for instance, like within our meta, we had a player that I started playing commander in the 2017 block with the tribal commanders.
Yep.
I got an Edgar Markov deck as a gift from my cousin. Thanks, Roy. Shout out. And then I was off to the races. Loved it ever since. However, we had another player in our meta at the time who also had that deck.
Yeah.
And he hadn't been playing as long as I had, so I didn't really want to like be annoyed by the fact that somebody had the same deck as me.
Sure,
so what I did is I decided Ixalan was coming out right around that same time, and there was a lot of these life gain vampires in that set.
Yeah.
So I decided to go, all right, I'm going to still use Markov, but I want to make it more life gain focused.
Sure.
And yeah, there's much stronger life gain decks out there than an Edgar Markov vampire sub-theme life gain deck. But it just kind of was a fun challenge for me to go, okay, let's take some of these, higher cost vampires that are just, really good vampires and start looking at some of the really good life gain vampires.
Sure. Yeah.
That were coming out at that time in the sets. And yeah, I mean, it's still a strong deck. I mean, Markov is a great commander.
Yep.
So it lended itself to having a different sub theme within that archetype.
Gotcha. So yeah, making an adjustment, maybe it's because of your meta or because you're just trying to, I guess, allow a new player to kind of take over that kind of deck that you maybe want to build that commander, but taking a different direction so you can have a little bit of variance. And then also potentially, maybe a more meaningful deck to you where, if everyone's playing, really powerful Edgar Markov vampires, you say, okay, well, I've got a different take on that. I've got my, life gain take on this instead, even though it might not be as optimal to do.
Right. I think the reason why, as a Vorthos player, I gravitate again towards Commander is because it is a really great way to get more creative, like we said, with the deck building. You've got 100 cards, one commander that of the 100 that is your kind of your champion.
Yeah.
And so right there, I don't know if a lot of people know it, but like if a creature is legendary or any card is legendary, it's legendary because it has at least some small part in the overall story of Magic.
You mean Yargle's part of the overall story?
Yargle is in there as well.
That's awesome.
And so right there, you've got the makings of a story build within any deck. Just about any commander can build at least a decently robust story.
Yeah.
I built for a Secret Santa gift. I built a Bosch Iron Golem story deck.
Nice.
And the nice thing is like the other characters within his story, like Squee and stuff, they're all mono red. So it was a mono red deck, and it actually was able to have the characters from that story.
You're telling a story while you're chucking artifacts at your opponent's faces. You're like, this is what's happening.
Yep. And it was just fun to kind of learn more about that character. I have a real kick out of learning the kind of backstory of my given commanders that I like to run.
Sure.
So, if that's something that you like to do, if you like kind of more storytelling and that sort of thing, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know the guys at Loading Ready Run like to kind of run jankier theme stuff where like they did Hat Tribal on one of their decks, or all the characters are looking left in their art.
Yep. I did one with everyone sitting in chairs around a Tog. So everyone seemed to enjoy that one.
I love that deck tech.
So that's technically a Vorthos deck then, I guess.
It is.
Okay.
100%.
Inspired by chairs.
Yeah. So. If you're taking basically the game itself and you want to get a little bit more creative into it, and this isn't a slight against those who are literally just, I want to play the game and I want the most powerful decks out there. I still want to win every game that I play, but there's quite a few times where I'm fine losing from like a flavorful play than me actually winning. It makes winning for me a little bit more sweet because my decks usually aren't the ones that are the biggest threat at the table.
Yeah. The most, actually, this kind of reminds me, the most flavorful deck like I've ever played around, actually, where like the entire deck was, I mean, not Pokemon cards. I think the lands were actually energy cards. But like other than that, like they're all regular Magic cards. But this one represents Professor Oak. This one represents Pikachu. This one represents just kind of it was like this is a Master Ball, and like the deck still functioned very well. But every single kind of piece was it had meaning to that person. It had this is I really enjoy Pokemon. I really enjoy Magic. This is kind of like my crossover. So I thought that was really cool. And my apologies, I cannot remember your name. We played at Lodestone. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you remember who the commander was?
Oh, it was a Simic deck. I think it might have been Varel the Hulkblade.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that, but I don't remember what that would have, what kind of character
Yeah,
that was.
I suppose that Simic would give you some kind of weird monsters that would be good
like
for
Pokemon-esque.
Yeah,
I know Sylvan Library was in there, and that was like, I think that was like where you get your Pokeballs. I can't remember, but yeah, it was all really kind of like intertwined and it was a very flavorful. Again, like it sticks with me still till today. Where like I'm just like, that was a really cool deck.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made for a different Secret Santa gift, I made a Harry Potter themed Wizards deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I made it with Adeliz the Cinderwind.
Yep.
And it was budget. I mean, like it had to be within a budget for the gift. And it actually was a decent deck. I mean, it was just Wizard Tribal.
That's fantastic.
But I got to have the Deathly Hollows were in there.
Yeah.
And, like the different stuff. There's owls and like,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun to build.
Was there a representation for Hagrid in there as well?
I don't remember. I probably did. I feel like I tried to make it as thorough as possible. I mean, it is in only red and blue, so you kind of limit some of the stuff. But I basically made it as if Adeliz was in the Harry Potter universe.
Oh, very cool. So kind of like adding in kind of magic lore into like the Harry Potter lore.
She was on a D&D campaign.
That's fantastic. Everyone's on it. We're all on a D&D. That is just life. Right? That's a D&D campaign. That's how life works. Very cool.
So going back to kind of the creative deck building, one of your decks that I got a huge kick out of, and I've been seeing more and more people playing online in quarantine using this deck. Yeah, and that's your Gulta Vehicles.
Yeah, I love that one.
I mean, it's a deck that I would have never thought to go that direction, and then once you see it, you're like, it works.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I like the flavor and the function to it, and I guess there might be a little bit of Vorthos in me too. But like I do like taking decks in kind of different directions that people don't expect, but I still like them to be effective too. So like Gulta, dinos and cars is just hilarious. Picturing Gulta driving around in a car is that's just funny. But the deck actually works because the problem with Gulta is if you built this giant board state of a lot of creatures and then they get board wipe, you can't recast Gulta because she costs like 14 mana or whatnot. But if you've got vehicles, it's hard to get rid of them. So kind of you get that flavor and you got that function of dinosaurs driving around in cars, but the cars are hard to deal with. So.
Right. Yeah, it's so cool. And I love the idea of just imagining like a vehicle driving a vehicle driving a vehicle.
Yep. Which is piloted by, your giant dinosaur inside a little submarine or whatever they are. I think you can't use the submarine because it's blue. But I wish. Anyway.
So the next little kind of side tangent to all of this is I know in my meta, our meta is, we're pretty pro uncards. Yeah. Silver borders.
I think as long as you can kind of explain like the reasoning behind it, like, like it's not just, just to cause chaos or whatnot. But if it kind of fits within the deck and it's a reasonable card, I'm all for it. Especially, like I know there's some players or some groups that are like, hey, if you want to build around an uncommander that's reasonable, like go for it. Like, but the rest of the deck might just be all, non-uncards. But as long as the commander, like I believe I have a rarity deck, that I use on a Quest for the Jank Lord episode. And I've got, on one side it's Rarity, on the other side it's, I think, Mellitus. But basically, I think it's Mellitus. Is that
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's whatever. It costs one blue and a white.
Daxos and Mellitus.
Daxos. Yes. There you go. We got there.
We were there.
I put up on the screen, so you already knew what it was, but we didn't. Anyways, and so like if someone's not okay with me playing with this uncommander, I'll just say, okay, then I'll flip it and I'll just play with, Daxos. And I'm completely fine. Yeah. I think hopefully it's Daxos. Goodness gracious. I'm going to get so many comments. Comment below if it wasn't Daxos. Anyways. But yeah, okay. So uncards. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I've got a Grusilda deck and I built it around Halloween. I've actually been trying to retune it to be a little bit better, but it's just Scarab God.
That's awesome.
It costs more to do it.
It's the monster masher. Like put two monsters together.
The end result can be a lot scarier than Scarab God, but for the most part, it costs more mana, and there's really very little reason I can see for that not to be.
Kind of functions as Yeah. That's pretty.
Basically,
fantastic.
It takes 10 mana to do her thing. She costs 5, and then her activated ability costs 5, and she has to tap to do it too.
There are definitely some uncards that are more fair than others. There are definitely some that you wouldn't really want to kind of play with because they could really kind of throw a wrench into the game or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, like that commander, I think is completely fine to be like, yeah, is it okay if I play this? And most people at the table are probably going to say yes.
Yeah. Always ask your play group, obviously, with that stuff. But I mean, like, it's a grassroots format, right? You know, I know we were just having, you just had that episode about, you know, should wizards be able to control commander? But I think even if this was a format that was controlled by wizards, it's still a grassroots format, and I still think there's a lot of people that are kind of like, well, you know, even some banned cards, people are like, well, I can make a case for it. I'm not abusing it in this deck. Are you guys cool if I run it?
Yeah, exactly. Like Iona. You know, everyone should run Iona. Anyways,
if you're doing that, then I'm running Leovold.
All right, we'll have discussions later.
So with all this creative deck building and looking at things kind of with by standing on your head, so to speak, a lot of people look at it as, well, that makes the deck not run right. You know, like I can go on EDH Rec and pull a deck list that's the, you know, optimum cards right there that I should be running in that deck.
Well, I wouldn't do that. You probably shouldn't just, you know, go to EDH Rec. I mean, EDH Rec is a great site, but don't just lean on that. Anyways, regardless.
My point being that though it's a good place to start, and Scryfall as well, to just kind of find cards.
Yep.
I think it's a good challenge to players to, you can make a creative deck and still have it perform well.
Yeah, you can still win with a creative deck.
Yeah, Galta Vehicles, man. That's a sweet deck.
It's a lot
and
of fun.
It's not like it's probably an archetype that's on there now because enough people are probably going to rip you off, but
jerks.
But that's just our payback for Wayfarer's Bauble being spiked up. It's all your fault.
That is my fault. I'll take credit for that one, or anti-credit. Bad credit.
So I think that, like, and it doesn't mean that you have to build a Harry Potter themed deck.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or say like this commander wants to do this, I'm going to build a deck that doesn't want to do that. That's not at all the goal of it. It's just to say, okay, if a lot of people go this direction with it, what if I do a slight pivot away?
Sure.
For instance, I've got my my Scarab God deck. Originally, I built it zombie tribal.
Yep.
A lot of fun. Our friend Eddie, who's also in our play group, he also had, at the time, I don't think he has it anymore, but he had a really good zombie tribal deck with that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to play to the ability. I'm going to go more like mill sub-theme and not win by mill, but rather fill up those graveyards so that I can abuse the ability of Scarab God.
Take some other people's creatures, kind of like a theft-ish as well, kind of like mill threat. Yeah, so you're taking a different direction than someone's in your playgroup is because you want your deck to be more unique and kind of not the exact same potentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually won a game with that deck playing. Somebody was running like Dragon, I think, at the table, and I was stealing all their good dragons.
That's fantastic.
Turning them into zombies.
That is a good target. Yeah, there's definitely sometimes where that can really work out, and sometimes, where you don't hit the dragons. So.
Yeah, so there's a lot of commanders out there, I think, that want to do a thing. It's, you know, pretty obvious when you look at the card, but then there's quite a few where, especially with partner commanders as well, that opens up a whole nother world where you can go, okay, I like this thing about this commander, but I like this thing about that commander. Let's bring those together. That's why I'm a big fan of partner commanders.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. It kind of gives you access to more colors and include more cards as well.
Yep. So if you're looking to build a theme, you know, just consider that. It's a nice, fun challenge to try to build a deck that most people don't see at the game store. And that's my goal as a deck builder. Is I don't want to sit down at a table and be running the same deck, even if it's the same commander, as somebody across the table. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a stalemate.
Well, I think that many people too, that's maybe what draws people towards Commander as well compared to other formats. Like if you're in Standard, and you know there's the meta decks at the top of the list, you're probably gonna be playing with and against the top 3 decks or whatnot if you're at a tournament. And there's a lot of percentage chance that you're gonna be playing against the exact same deck that you have essentially. Maybe some minor tweaks in the sideboard or whatnot. But in Commander, you can make your own kind of unique deck. Even if you're playing with the most popular commander out there or whatnot, you can still take your own take on it and do something different that other people haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean that's the best thing about the game, and I think that's why the game is so robust and has such a loyal fan base and player base, is because it's a customizable experience. Yep. The deck that you bring to the table is almost always of your creation. Yep. Yeah, you can get a deck from like a precon or something like that,
or
bring it out and play it,
episode,
or a Commander's Quarters episode. But you almost always will crack a pack or something like that along the way, or a new set comes out and you're like, I want to put that in that deck. So it's almost like people are always asking like, well, are you finished building that deck? And I always say no. There's always a potential for me to tweak it.
It's
and
a never-ending process.
Card. It's kind of maddening, actually.
Well, yeah, and even if like no more, like let's say that Wizards somehow goes out of business, whatever, and no more sets are ever printed, like, but if people still played Commander, like hypothetically, I think people would still be finding kind of like new cards to put in their deck, not new printed ones, but if you're playing against new people or whatnot, you're like, oh, that card I've never ever heard or seen that card, I should add it to my deck. So
right.
I think that, there's definitely, I think everyone's got kind of a little bit of Vorthos in them. I like that kind of like little phrase that, there's, that wanting to kind of show off your uniqueness, show off your flavor of your deck. And, even if you do want to build a powerful deck, there's still, some way you can make it your own.
Right. Yeah. I mean, basically, if you're wondering if you have a Vorthos in you, I think everybody does to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like if you've ever taken a survey online to see what guild you would fit in, I know that was all the rage when the Ravnica stuff was coming out.
Which Harry Potter house.
Right, which Harry Potter house. That's all Vorthos. I mean, if you have a pet card, I know so many people have a pet card or a couple of pet cards that no matter what, you always, even if you tune it out when you're trying to make the deck better, you initially are like, oh, it's got to go in there.
I can't take that one out.
Yeah. I love Wall of Junk. It's not great in most decks, but
That's a great card.
It's from when I was young and I really like it.
It's good in, not a Rick Smithies. What is the name? The Wall Commander dude.
Oh yeah. I run a different Walls deck. I run a Ikra and
Ikra Shadiki?
Yep, and Ishai.
Yeah.
So
more comments about how I don't remember commander names.
I'm bad with that. I can't pull cards off the cuff like that.
Don't even know why I mentioned that one. He's Bant. He's on a wall.
Yeah, it's one that I want to put in that deck eventually, but
I'll get. It's gonna be up there. Okay. Comment below as to how in the world did I forget that one?
Yell at us
Elder
for
Dragons.
not knowing.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, or like. I actually really enjoy, I'm a designer by profession. And so I do a lot of drawing and illustration for my job. And I actually have taken to doing like alternate arts and like proxies and stuff for tokens and other things like that. I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Thanks. And it's just kind of, it's not like I want to do this for a job. There's guys that do it way better than I can, but I just like, coming up with, an Iron Man themed construct token or something like that. Yeah. And that right there, if you like not creating those, but like maybe you really like alternate art cards or like the Godzilla set just came out.
Oh yeah.
People
that's very Vorthos.
Right. That's super Vorthos. Magic is or all the WotC development guys, they're all Vorthos for doing that.
Yeah.
So there's what's the other thing? Oh, you hate this. And I love it. And I make all of my lands, or I try to, in my decks, all of my basics are the same art.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. As a budget player, I just buy, like the 500 lands, here you go for $12. I'm like, sweet, whatever ones I get.
So I like to synchronize them all up. And I know that that's almost like borderline OCD, but I enjoy that.
It's Vorthos.
It's Vorthos, man.
Yeah.
Or foiling out your deck. There's a lot of players that, that once they feel like their deck is finished or they really like playing a certain deck, they go and foil it out.
Oh yeah.
That's Vorthos.
It's special to them. It's like this is kind of part of you, this is I'm trying to make it even more unique then too. Yeah, maybe someone else has almost the exact same deck, but yours is completely foiled out. So therefore yours is better.
Yeah, or coordinating the sleeves of your deck and your deck box are the same color as your commander or whatever.
Yeah, or if your friend really hates, white bordered cards, then, just using as many as you can.
I love white bordered.
I do too.
I think they're great.
They're so good.
So I guess in summation on the Vorthos thing, we keep beating this over the head, but I think everybody is, a Vorthos is really just somebody who has a deeper passion for the game. And I think as players, I mean, if you're watching this content right now, you obviously have a deeper passion than just a surface level, I want to go and try out Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So just by watching the content, you're a Vorthos.
Yeah, there's kind of like a scale of Vorthos, I guess. You're a certain percentage of Vorthos. It's kind of like, I guess, if you're playing chess, you're not really into the backstory of the knight versus the rook. You're not really like, oh, this piece was crafted by so and so or whatnot. Maybe you are. I'm not against chess players, but in Magic, there is kind of that story, that flavor to it that you're kind of bringing to it, and kind of maybe even not even thinking about it. I guess, when I was building my Galta deck, I was not thinking anything about Vorthos or whatnot, or about flavor to it. I mean, maybe a little bit of flavor, but anyways, like that wasn't the purpose, but there was still a little bit of that intent behind, even if I didn't see it. So. Right.
Well, and to that point about a spectrum, right? There was actually another article written 10 years after the Matt Covatta article by, we're going to butcher his name. What is it? It's Ant
Tessitore.
Tessitore.
I think.
Ant Tessitore.
Sorry, Ant, if we got that wrong.
We probably did.
Or forgot even both parts wrong.
But he actually dredged up in 2015. He dredged up an article, and it was taking kind of a refresh of the Vorthos idea, and giving subcategories to the Vorthos. So you've got the gamer. There's 5. There's the gamer, the artist, the writer, the oracle, and the dreamer.
Yep.
I'm not going into the details on that here. To look up the article, and it's pretty interesting. It's a good read, but it's really kind of what we're talking about here. You know, it's like which way do you slant on this spectrum? Is kind of where you fit into that subcategory.
Yeah. So again, like you fill out that survey, and this is what you are. You're House Gryffindor.
Right.
You are the gamer. You're the artist.
I always got Slytherin. I don't know that I am Slytherin.
I don't know what I got. I think I was Hufflepuff. So.
You seem like a Hufflepuff.
I like hugs. But yeah. Arcades. That's who it was. Arcades. All right.
It just took a little bit. Came full circle.
Right.
We did not cut, and we'll look it up either.
There was no cut. You'll never see it. Well, I mean, you can't tell if there's a cut or not because I'm so good at editing these. But yeah.
I'm so happy you got it.
I'm too. All right. Anyways, before we end today, though, is there anything else that you want to bring up, Eric?
Yeah. I mean, I'll do a shameless self promotion.
Plug away.
So as you know, I play in a punk band.
I do know.
Named My Kid Banana.
That's a great name.
And thank you. And we actually just at the beginning of quarantine.
Yep.
It was bad timing, but we dropped an album, which is the first album that I got to record on.
Nice.
The band's been together for a number of years, but it's available on Spotify, iTunes, Bandcamp, kind of all the usual places.
I'll have a link in the description, I'm sure. As long as I remember. You remind me, okay?
I will.
Easy enough.
If you like pop punk, especially like 90s pop punk, and you like songs about cats or karate or skateboarding or horror movies, you'll love our stuff.
I think that lines up with the Vorthos episode really well. Right? A lot of flavor in there.
Right?
Anyways, now it's your turn. So in the comments below, let us know, have you ever built a flavorful commander deck? Or if you were to build one, what commander would you choose to build around, and what kind of theme would you maybe choose for that? And then also let us know, if you think I actually cut, for the Arcades bit or not, or, if we actually kind of remembered that mid-episode. So we did.
Hotly debated.
Hotly debated. But as always, well, first off, thank you, Eric, for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Glad to have you on. And as always, thanks again, and have a good one.